Hello again, everyone. I'm Brad Scheller, and today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to set up all the AI tools you're going to need for this semester's project. By the end of this video, you'll have everything installed and ready to go. Now, I know this might seem like a lot of technology, but I've tried to make it as simple as possible. In most cases, you'll download one file, run one command, and you'll be all set up. And then I'll show you exactly when to use each tool during the pipeline. So let's get started. So here's the big picture of what we're setting up today. When you're finished with this setup, you'll have three things. First, you're going to have 9 artificial intelligence skill files. These are pre-written instructions like templates that tell Claude exactly how to guide you through each phase of the project. I wrote them myself, so you may find some tweaking necessary, but I think they'll be very good for what we have to do. Think of them as expert tutors that have been programmed with the exact process I want you to follow. You don't have to figure out what to ask Claude. The skills will handle that for you. Second, you're going to set up 4 accounts. Claude Pro is your main account. It now has Opus 4.6 as of today, and this is where you're going to spend most of your time. Now, it comes free with your Northeastern account. That's a great price. Perplexity Pro is the second tool that you're going to set up, and there are instructions in here. And that is also free for students. Another great price. Then we're going to set up Gemini Pro, which gives you access to all Gemini's tools. That's a free account for students. And with that, you're going to then set up your Notebook LM account. Again, another freebie. Then it's going to walk you through 7 phases of this pipeline. I'm going to be talking about that more in the accompanying video and instructions on what the phases are. But basically, this pipeline is going to take you all the way from defining your company to producing a polished product requirements document. And that's phase 1 of this entire semester project. It's going to be structured and guided by artificial intelligence. So let me show you what tools you'll need and how to set each one up. So here are the 4 tools you'll need, and let's walk through each. So again, Claude AI Pro, now Opus 4.6, that's your main platform. This is where you're going to spend 80% of your time. The pipeline skills run inside Claude, so it's doing the heavy lifting across all 7 phases. It's, in a sense, the orchestrator. It's free as a student. If you're not a student and you're listening to this video, you can set up a $20 account for the Pro plan. Perplexity Pro is the research tool that I think is a wonderful tool as an adjunct to Notebook LM and Gemini's deep research. You're going to use it in phases 3 and 4, where you're searching for real market data, competitors, customer pain points, etc. And what makes Perplexity special is it provides sources that are current and have citations, so you can check them out. Google Gemini Pro 3 and Notebook LM are Google products that also are free, and you're going to be using them, the Notebook LM for your repository of information, and Gemini Pro as a second source for considering what your options are and for debating with Claude what's the best approach. You're going to use a process called LLM Council, which allows the 2 models to basically confront each other and debate as to the best solution. Now let me show you how to set up each of these. I'm going to go through each one at a time, and you can pause the video each and follow along. The whole process should take about 10 to 15 minutes. So starting with Claude, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your class Canvas application here, and you're going to click on the Claude Anthropic link, and you'll be set up in a Claude account. Now, you're going to be able to use Opus 4.6, I believe, as of today. It's just been announced, and that is going to be a tremendously powerful tool for you. What I want you to do next is I'd like you to actually download Claude Code to your desktop and set it up to use with your subscription from the Northeastern account. This is going to give you the most power you can have for development purposes. You can use the web interface in a chat-like function, or you can use the Claude Code, and we'll get to the differences there. And my preference would be Claude Code You're going to need to learn it anyway. It's going to be the Excel of this generation, and it just works better. Anyway, in each, whichever you prefer, type in a simple query, and it'll get you started. And next up is Perplexity, and this is your web-connected research engine. And again, we're using Perplexity. It's incredibly smart, and it browses the internet in real time with citations. It also gives you follow-up questions to consider, which I think are the most powerful things of the program. You'll really get an in-depth understanding of whatever you're trying to search. So go to perplexity.ai and create an account. Use the school account to set up at perplexity.ai/education or perplexity.ai/back-to-school, and you'll get a free account for a year. Next, what I want you to do is type in your first search, see what it works like, and follow up and copy and paste all the questions that it says just to look into, copy them all at the same time and post it into the prompt box and let it go and continue until there's no more questions. Now, the interesting thing about this is that these questions that it follows up with basically are fantastic and give you such in-depth understanding of stuff that you never even considered to ask. That's where I think the power of this application is. Next up, you're going to set up your Gemini Pro and aistudio.google.com. Both is kind of the same thing. I'll describe the difference in a moment. Basically, they both have a free program, or it's all Google basically. They have a free program for students. You can go to gemini.google/students or aistudio.google.com. And I think you want to set up your Google account first at the gemini.google.students, and then you can use that ID in the AI Studio. Both are very powerful. The difference is that AI Studio gives you some advanced beta versions of their software. So if you hear something about, oh, this next version of Gemini Pro is coming out, it's 3.2 or 3.5 or whatever, and the in the aistudio.google.com. So they're pretty simple to use. Just go and set it up and give it a try. You can use it to create images, all sorts of tools. It's multimodal, so it can understand video and transcribe as well as basically document what's going on in the video. So it's very powerful for researching, catching information that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. And the final account you're going to set up now that you have a Google account is Notebook LM. And this is going to be your secret weapon for phase 4. It's basically your resource and source repository of knowledge. So go set it up. We've been talking about it in prior videos, how to use it. Set up a new notebook called whatever, your semester project or something to that effect. And actually what you're going to do is your semester project could have one set of notes and resources, but then you're going to set up a notebook for each and every concept you come up with. So you can do deep research on them and keep the information separate per that particular concept. So this is where you're going to use deep research to go into more information per concept. You're also going to be able to use Perplexity to download information into that particular notebook. And the key here is the reason you can do this is, say you have a concept that's difficult to understand. Well, you're going to be able to say, let's break this down into components and let's take a look at analogous situations or processes from other industries where we can find out how they address the same issue and utilize that answer perhaps into our concept to make that component viable. Now, in step 2, we're going to actually install this stuff. And this is, I'm pretty excited about it because I packaged everything into a single file. You download one file, you have one command in your Cloud code, and all the skill files will be installed and ready to go. Can't make it any easier than that. So here's the beauty of the setup. You're going to download one file that'll be available in the assignment page, and it's called setup dash M marketing 2700 pipeline.sh. It's about 32 kilobytes, very small. Inside of that one file, I packed all of these 9 skill files, a progress tracker, and a README. And when you run it, it unpacks everything into a clear new directory structure called marketing 2700 pipeline. On the left, you can see what you download, just that one script file. I'll put the download link again on the Canvas assignment, and you can also load it and store it to your Google Drive that you get for free with your Google account. On the right, you'll see what it creates, and it's a folder of the various application skill sets. The gold colored files in the skill folder are the ones that do the heavy lifting, and the orchestrator is the main coordinator. It manages the whole process. It's like an agent that tells what skills to run at what time. Now let me show you how to actually run it. I mentioned earlier that there are 2 ways to run Claude, which is in the Claude.ai web-based chat lookalike thing, or you can run it through Claude Code. And my preference is to run it into Claude Code. It's a terminal-based. It looks like the old DOS application screens, but it's very easy to use. And I hope this will be the one you use because it's a much more powerful version of Claude. It's used by developers across the industry. It's catching on like wildfire, and it's pretty easy to use. I will actually load up a video about usage, and gives you basically everything you need to know about it. And I'll put that into this week's videos. If you're really uncomfortable with using that type of approach, you can use the web interface, which is just like a chat GPT interface or any of the other large language model interfaces. It's okay. It's going to involve a lot of cut and paste, and it's going to take a lot more time to do. But, if you're really uncomfortable, that's one way you can do this. So when you get these up and going, you're going to start a chat within your project and type start project, and the orchestrator skill will kick you in and guide you from there. So I just want to take a second to explain to you in detail why I think you ought to be looking at Claude Code as the project rather than the web or the desktop version of Claude. Now, I say that knowing that Anthropic is test marketing a version called Claude Cowork, which gives a graphical user interface that makes the application seem like just another Windows or Mac application. However, the truth is the Claude Code version may look intimidating because it looks like an old DOS application, black screen, looks like a terminal. Oh my gosh. However, knowing how to use the full power gives you so much more capability. Just look through this list of things you can do in code that you cannot do with some of these other versions. So let me quickly walk through each file what it does so you understand the system. So the orchestrator file is your master coordinator. It's your project manager. It manages the entire pipeline. It knows what phase you're in, what artifacts you produced, what output you produced, and what needs to happen next. It also enforces decision gates, which are checkpoints based on the rubrics that we'll establish throughout the project. Phase 1 is something that not a lot of people do in this product development cycle they have, which is they start at the top and interview the team about the company and the industry. And they assess from multiple angles. It does a strategic analysis using some of the tools you used in the Kodak case, such as the Pestles tool, the SWOT tool, Porter's 5 Forces, Rio, etc. These frameworks give you a comprehensive picture of your competitive landscape, but it also does an internal evaluation of your company in terms of the willingness to accept new ideas, where you are in the market, in terms of competitive positioning, what you need to do, whether you need to be a disruptor or you're maintaining your product leadership position. And this is critical because the 2 areas here together define what your rubric has to be in terms of what projects you should be looking to do, what your portfolio management system should be comprised of. Phase 3 is where Claude generates targeted search queries for Perplexity and Notebook LM and helps you synthesize the results into 40 product concept candidates ranked by potential. Phase 4 structures your deep research in Notebook LM. It tells you what to upload, what questions to ask, and maps everything back to your rubric criteria. Phase 5 does the actual scoring, like the Q matrix. Claude evaluates each concept, generates a prompt for Gemini, and then compares both model scores in the LLM Council, which again lets the two major AI models debate what's right and what's wrong and give different feedback and suggestions. Phase 6 takes your one winning concept and refines it using the Scamper ideation approach, morphological charts, and a Cano feature classification interview. So it's going to say, these are the things you need to have in your product. Phase 7 pulls everything together into a complete product requirements document. That's your final deliverable for next Tuesday or Wednesday. And it basically is what you would hand off to the development group to actually go out and build a prototype. Each of these files contain about 100 lines of carefully crafted instructions. You don't need to read them. Claude reads them and follows them automatically. Now, step 3, understanding when to use each tool is important. And some phases happen entirely inside Claude, but some require you step outside and use Perplexity, Notebook LM, or Google AI Studio. So let me walk through each one of those. In phase 1 and 2, that happens entirely within Claude. You don't really need any external tools. In phase 1, Claude becomes your strategic consultant, your project manager. It interviews your team about your chosen company, made-up company, whatever industry you're in, who your competitors are, what are your strengths, what markets are you targeting, and questions like that. And based on your answers, it automatically generates 4 strategic analyses: a PESTEL analysis for macro environment, a SWOT analysis for internal strengths and weaknesses, Porter's 5 forces for competitive dynamics, and Brio for resource-based advantages. Your job is simply to answer the questions and then review the strategic brief when Claude generates it. If something doesn't look right, tell Claude, and it will revise it based on your feedback and input. Phase 2 builds your evaluation rubric. This is the scoring system you're going to use to evaluate product concepts later. Claude first uses its built-in research capabilities to discover what criteria matter in your industry. Things like market size, technical feasibility, competitive differentiation, and then it interviews you about specific criteria for your company, timeline, budget, resources, etc. Each criteria gets a weight that you assign it and a clear 0 to 4 scoring scale with specific definitions for each level. For example, 4 on market size might mean address, the accessible market exceeds $1 billion, while a 1 might mean niche market under $10 million. The rubric gets locked after phase 2. Weights are assigned before you see any concept, which prevents the gaming of the scores, so you don't get to have one person influence what they really want to occur. That's really important methodologically. Both phases produce a markdown artifact that Claude saves for you. These artifacts are carried forward into later phases. Claude references them automatically. Now, in this next phase, concept discovery, that's where you're going to go outside Claude for the first time. You're going to find real product opportunities. Now, here's the workflow. In step 1, Claude looks at your strategic brief and your rubric and generates targeted search queries. These aren't generic searches. They're specific to your company, your industry, your evaluation criteria. For example, it might generate queries like, let's see Reddit complaints about dental scheduling software, or YouTube reviews of pet wellness apps that have negative feedback. Step 2 is where you switch to Perplexity. You copy each query that Claude generated and paste it into Perplexity Pro. You'll also run parallel queries in Gemini Deep Research. And the reason we use these is you get some great results by mixing and comparing and pulling them together, especially the follow-up questions for each. Step 3, you're going to bring the results back to Claude. Just copy the output. You're going to paste it actually into a notebook and let Claude synthesize the information and come up with 40 candidates for your concepts. These will include things that these suggestions will be based on what must have constraints, and then it'll rank everything by evidence such as strategic fit, competitive gap, etc. The output is a concept-candidates.md file with your top 10, middle 15, and remaining 15 concepts ranked and organized. The top 10 get deep research in phase 4. This is one of the phases where you're bouncing between Claude and Perplexity. It sounds complicated, but the skill file will drag you through each step. Claude literally tells you what to search for. Now, phase 4 is where you could spend the most time outside of Claude, so pay attention to this one. This is where I think team dynamics are really important. You're basically going to use the tools, Notebook LM and Perplexity, to do deep dives into the top 10 concepts. Now, I would suggest dividing it 2 concepts per person in your 5-person team. And you're going to basically utilize the questions generated by Claude and go through each concept and draft or gather as much information as possible and put it into separate notebooks in Notebook LM. Now, here's a critical thing, and I marked it in red. When Notebook LM deep research finishes and suggests follow-up questions, follow every single one. And this is where the gold is. Same with Perplexity. The follow-up questions really bring insight to your research. I've always found it to be the most significant benefit of these programs. So when both programs have given you their findings, bring everything back into Claude through first putting it into Notebook LM and then letting Claude access that information. It's going to cross-reference the results. It's going to flag contradictions. It's going to map findings based on your rubric criteria. Now, I want to be upfront. Phase 4 takes the most time, so I'm really suggesting you budget that extra hours here and divide the work. Everybody does about an hour or 2 of work on this. You'll get through it, and you'll have dramatically better results. Now, phase 5 is evaluation day. This is where your concepts get scored against the rubric you built in phase 2. And it's a 3-step process, A, B, and C. Step A happens in Claude. Claude takes each concept's research dossier from phase 4 and scores it against every criteria in your rubric. Each criteria getting a 0 to 4 score, weighed by the weights that you assigned. Then it calculates a percentage. If it comes up below 90%, that's a kill. That concept doesn't move forward. Between 90 and 95%, look to revise it. There's potential, but it needs work. Above 95%, let's continue. It looks pretty strong. Step B is where you go to Google's AI Studio. Claude's going to generate a carefully formatted prompt that contains your complete rubric and concept research. You'll literally copy and paste this in AI Studio, and then independently, Gemini is going to score the same concept using the same rubric. It takes about 10 minutes. Step C, you bring Gemini scores back to Claude using this LLM council to have the 2 independent evaluators compare notes, debate, and come out with something where if they both agree, that's a high level of confidence. If they disagree significantly, that requires further investigation and into the discrepancies. Now, this LLM council approach is really valuable because it catches blind spots. Different LLM models, large language models, are some different in their approach slightly. Sometimes Claude is too generous on market size. Gemini might score it differently, forcing a re-examination. The final reconciled score is more reliable than either model alone. Now, the output, that's your evaluation results.md file with a detailed scorecard and a clear winner. So the good news is that in phases 6 and 7, we're back inside Claude, no more bouncing between tools, and it gets pretty fast from here. Phase 6 is a refinement. You have your winning concept from phase 5, and now you're going to make it even better using the 3 techniques that you've seen in some prior videos. First, the scamper ideation technique. Claude walks you through 7 creative prompts: substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to other uses, eliminate, or reverse. For each prompt, it will generate ideas for improving your concept. You pick the best ones. Second, the morphological chart. Claude breaks your concept into components like the user interface, data storage, core algorithm, different components of the product idea, and it generates multiple implementation options for each. You evaluate the options against the rubric and select the best combination. Third, the Kano interview. This is important for the product requirements document. Claude conducts an interview to classify each feature into one of 5 Kano categories, not 3, 5. I use 5 because I think there's extra value there, but it's 1, the must-have features that the customers expect. 2, performance features where more is better. 3, excitement features that create a wow factor. 4, indifferent features nobody cares about. And 5, reverse features to actually make the product worse for users, or for some users. This classification directly informs your build priority. So those last 2 are very important to understand. And phase 7 is the grand finale for this phase of the project, the PRD generation. Claude's going to pull together everything from the first 6 phases and write a comprehensive product requirements document. It does it across criteria that I set up. It has 10 sections: executive summary, strategic context, problem market opportunity, target users, etc. And it does that work for you. What you're going to then need to do is take that and you're going to put it into a Claude PowerPoint presentation skill, which is going to create a PowerPoint for you that explains the process you went through and your findings and why you picked what you did and what are the elements of your product requirements. And those 2 elements, the product requirements document and the PowerPoint, will be your deliverables. So here's a cheat sheet. Keep this slide handy throughout the project so you don't have to pull your hair out wondering where you are. You can see at a glance that what each tool is and where it's used. And next, we're going to go on to the timeline. Here's a realistic timeline for the 6 days you have, okay? And if you're a day or 2 late on this, that's okay. It's something that requires work. I want you to get the project down right. I want you to get the skill down right. So basically, tonight, tomorrow, set up everything, install the pipeline, create your accounts, complete phase 1 about the strategic foundation. Takes about an hour or 2 back and forth with Claude. Budget 2 to 3 hours for the total phase day 1. Day 2, build your rubric in phase 2 and start the concept discovery. This rubric takes about an hour to get right, maybe more. Just don't worry about, again, if you are a day or 2 delayed, just I want you to enjoy the experience and get a lot out of it. Basically, next day is you're going to finish phase 3, start phase 4. You should have your ranked concept list by the end of phase 3. And in phase 4, you start your research. This is the heaviest day. Split the task amongst your 5 team members. Break it down so it's about 2 to 3 hours most. The next day, finish the deep research and run the evaluation. Another sort of heavy day. Especially if you have a lot of concepts to evaluate. Let Claude do most of the heavy lifting based on the rubric, but you need to look at it and give feedback. The next day, you're going to use the refinement techniques of Scamper, the morphological chart, the Kano interview, It's engaging work. Do it as a team. It's going to take maybe, as a team, maybe 3 to 4 hours. The next day, you're going to generate the PRD and the PowerPoint about 2 to 3 hours. It's all there. Walks you through it. Does a lot of the work for you. Without this, it would be weeks or months long to get this thing done. But that's the beauty of AI and sort of the promise of how you can get more done with high quality faster. So I want to share some tips with you that'll save you headaches. Number one, every time you're asking for an output from Claude, direct it to save it as an artifact so that you have that file that can be shared later, and Claude won't forget about it. Claude has all these AI models can forget things over time, so you need to share components as you build them so you don't have to redo the work. Number two, start a new chat for each phase. These LLM models have a certain amount of what they call context, which is basically the space to run the application in before they run out of space. When they start to run out of space, they start to hallucinate and get less effective. They forget things. So you want to start fresh each phase and give it clean context. It means better results. Long rambling conversations lead to confused outputs. Number three, don't skip or rush phase 4 research. I know it's tempting to do quick search and move on, but the depth of your phase 4 research directly determines the quality of everything that follows. If your research is shallow, your evaluation scores will be unreliable and the PRD will be thin, product requirements document. Follow every suggested question in both Notebook and Perplexity. And again, that's where the real value is. That's where the real work happens. Number four, trust the decision gates. You know, if it's a concept you like comes below 90%, let it go. I know it's hard to kill a concept you're excited about, but the whole point of this pipeline is to basically make sure that you're adhering to the strategic requirements of your company and not just because something's cool or it's the latest technology or it's a fad. Trust that you set up the requirements through the rubric correctly and it will give you correct directions. So you're ready to build. That's everything you need. Let me recap the 3 things you need to do. 1, make sure you set up your accounts, Claude Pro, Perplexity Pro, Gemini, and Notebook LM. It's free as you're a student, so that's a savings. Number 2, download the setup script from Canvas assignment and run it. 1 file, 1 command, everything installed. Step 3, open Claude, load your project, say start project, and the orchestrator takes it from there. Now, this is all new to a lot of people. And if you have questions, post them in the Canvas email to me or the discussion forum. I am going to follow those. If you need help, I'll put more slide presentations and videos up about how to do certain things. I will be available for Zoom meetings if you need to. I will certainly respond to any questions you have through your email. So good luck to you on the project. I think it's going to open your eyes up to some really exciting concepts that you can use in your career. And the pipeline is designed to find opportunities that humans alone would miss. So be open to surprises. Let the data guide you. So let's get going, and I'll see you next week or sooner if you have questions. Take care.